So on this little snippet, we are going to be tackling how to find the coordinate of an endpoint when given the coordinate of one of the endpoints and a midpoint. This video is going to be called Midpoint 2. If you're a little bit unfamiliar with how midpoints work, go back, watch Midpoint 1. Still don't know how to do this one, come on back and we'll work through it together. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at, let's look at number 18. Yeah, 18, page 54 in the book. So this is how we're going to do it. Again, we should be able to use our equations in order to do this by itself. However, I do like to sit there and get started by making a graph and kind of eyeballing where things should end up. So in the last video, we talked about how to use a set of endpoints to find the midpoint. So we're going to be kind of doing a little bit of a variation on that, and we're going to be using the information the book gives us is that there's a line ST. Again, I'm using my finger right now, so the writing is even worse than normal. So the book gives us T, which is one of the endpoints, and it says that the midpoint of all of them is 5, -8. And T for this one, we're looking at number 18, is 10, 18. First things first, let's graph these points. So 10, 18, we'll go over 10. And, which is right here. Then all the way up to 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great, lost count, have to start over. Feel a little bit like the count from Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17. Right at the roof there, number 18. So we have 10, 18. Then the other one's 5, -8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this one's a bit tricky because it is a very long line. And I'm going to do it in yellow because why not? I'm going to continue it a little bit. Something like that. I know that's not perfect, but again, using my finger. And this is a demonstration. And really what we're looking for is an estimate of where things are. And what a reasonable number is. So this goes down, and it looks, if we look at, this goes quite a ways down. If we look at how far it is, from there to there, we know that it's going to go all the way off the screen there. So right now the screen gives us our, but it looks like our x value should be somewhere probably between -3 and +3. That would be in that area right there. So if we took those two down, probably in there, probably pretty close to 0. And then our y, well, let's count really quickly, see where it drops off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So it drops off the screen around -19. Still got a really steep slope there. So we're looking for probably something mid to late 20s, maybe even less. What we really want to avoid here, though, is a problem and is an answer which doesn't make sense. If I get my answer for the other endpoint as right there, which looks like about 2, 3, I know I did something wrong. It's a great thing about mathematics, kids, is you get to sit there, you get to go back, check your work, and make sure you did it right. So, moving on, what we want to do now is write down all the information we have and what equations we're going to use. Now, if you remember from whenever we're dealing with midpoints and endpoints, we really have 3 points that we're going to need. We have our 2 endpoints, and those are always going to be called x1, y1, x2, y2. Like I said in the last video, it does not make a difference which goes where. You can pick either point, either endpoint is x1, y1, and that's the reason for that is distance is always positive. If you're sitting in your house doing some homework right now, look up across the room. The distance from you to the nearest person in the room is the same exact distance as him from you. You don't say it's 5 feet from me to Dad, but it's negative 5 feet from Dad to me. It's positive both ways. And then finally over here, we have our midpoints, and that's going to be x sub m and y sub m. Now, this isn't something you're going to see in your textbooks. Okay, this is just something I do. Put that little m there to remind me that those are the coordinates of the midpoint. Okay, so now we look at this. Oops. We go, what information were we given? We were given point 5, negative 8. Now, the book tells us that that's the midpoint. So let's go ahead and fill that in and do it correctly. We got 5, negative 8. Then the other information we have is that the coordinates of t are given. So the coordinates of t here are 10, 18. So t is one of our endpoints, because what we're looking for is if we have st over here, segment st, we know that our endpoints are t and s. So we are given one of the endpoints t, let's call that x1 over here. So we have 10 and 18. And if you notice, we're missing one set of variables, which is good. If we were missing 2 or more, we'd be in trouble. We're only missing one, good thing. So what we want to do now is look back at those equations that we have. Again, if you don't have them written down from class, it means you probably weren't paying attention. So liven up. If you do have them written down, great. But if you don't, go back, watch that first midpoint 1 video, and they're included in there. And if not, I'll just put them here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put down the equations anyway. But if you want to know kind of how we got them and why we get to use them, go back and watch that. So here we have this equation, the midpoint of the x. Okay, that means the x coordinate at the midpoint is equal to the average of the 2 x's. So now we can go in and we can just plug in our numbers. For xm, we have 5. So I'm going to write a 5 right there. For x1, we have 10. Don't know what x2 is. That's actually what we're looking for. And then we put a 2 right there. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. Good friend, the multiplication property of equality. And that gives us 10 equals 10 plus whatever x2 is. Now, you guys should be able to look at this and immediately know that x2 is going to be 0. Because 10 plus anything else is not going to equal 10. But we're going to go ahead and solve it just to show that x2 does equal 0. Now, if we look back at our graph here, we see that that kind of makes sense. We had already suggested that our x was going to be somewhere between negative 3 and 3. And what do you know? Dead smack dab in the middle at 0. So we come back here and work our y magic. So we have y sub m. Again, that is the y coordinate of the midpoint. And that's going to equal the average of the 2 y's that we get So we plug in negative 8 there. That is going to be equal to 18 plus y sub 2 over 2. Want to multiply both sides by 2, just like we did last time. Multiplication property of equality. That cancels out. We get negative 16 equals 18 plus y sub 2. Subtraction property of equality. Subtract 18 from both sides, and we get negative 34 equals y2. I'm going to be honest, that is a bit longer than I thought, a bit lower than I thought it would be, but it makes sense. Negative 34. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is your answer to number 18 on page 54. 0, negative 34. Next video, we are going to be tackling distance.